evening, I will alter the agenda slightly, and rather than reorganize the board immediately, although Mr. Springett is here. So I guess we will stick with the original agenda. So the first thing we will do is reorganize the board, and then we will immediately jump into an update on Colonial Water. And with us this evening are representatives from Colonial Water as well. So tonight it should be quite a long meeting, so I will start. I am Robin Hunter, and for the next 2 minutes, will be the chair of the Board of Selectmen. I will now poll my other members. Mr. Springett, are you in attendance?
Oh, yes, I am.
Okay. And Mr. Jeffries?
I am present there.
All right. So if there are any citizens' comments that do not pertain to Colonial Water, I will take those now.
And that it failed to consider the hardship to DACA recipients. But 3 of the dissenting.
Okay. I also ask that all participants that aren't speaking to put yourself on mute to avoid feedback. So there are no questions. So with that, I think the first order of business will be for us to reorganize as a board. It is the tradition of the Board of Selectmen to reorganize the first meeting following the annual town election. Our tradition is that the third term member serves as chairman, the second term member serves as the clerk, and the first term member serves as a member. And so this evening, we will begin this reorganization. So I, Robin Hunter, move to nominate Mr. Springett as chairman of the Board of Selectmen.
I, John Jeffries, second the motion, Madam.
All those in favor?
I,
Robin
Jeffries.
Hunter?
I, John Jeffries.
Hi, Bob Smith.
All right, Bob, I hear ye, hear he. You are now the chair of the Board of Selectmen.
Oh, thank you so much. And I only going to have like 2 comments.
Well, you can't have any comments, actually. You have
I have
to
to go citizens.
nominate John.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Me?
Yeah, you need to nominate John.
Yes.
I move to nominate John. Is it the
Clerk.
Clerk.
the clerk of the board?
I will second that.
All in favor?
I, Robin Hunter.
Hi, Bob Springett.
I, John Jeffries.
Okay, now John, it's your turn.
I-
You're sharing this evening.
Madam, Mr. Chairman, I nominate Robin Hunter as member of the Board of Selectmen.
I will second that.
All in favor?
I, John Jeffries.
Robin
Hi, Bob
Hunter.
Springett. Good to go. So now we can, right?
Right.
All right, so when I start, I'm gonna, a couple of things. I just want to say thank you so much to Robin Hunter for her year plus as chair of the Board of Selectmen. I think she's been chair of several other committees, and I've had the opportunity to work with her since about, I don't know, goes back at least 14 years. Terrific job. Your act is going to be hard to follow. And it's going to be so hard for me to follow that I'm going to let you take the Colonial Water update and discussion.
You're a brave man, Bob. Nothing more to say. So first of all, I was remiss in my enthusiasm to reorganize the board.
Right.
It's not that I didn't love being chair, to introduce the town employees that are here with us this evening. So we have Chris Dwelly, the town administrator, and Kate O'Brien. And we have a whole lot of other town employees, and I apologize for not naming everyone. So, but thank you for attending. Also with us this evening is Jim Rapetti, the town moderator, Dave Havlin, the town assistant moderator, and we also have Denise Garlick with us this evening. And Denise, I would once again like to thank you for attending this meeting. And I also would very much like to thank you for your support and guidance of us as a town as we navigate through the issues that we have with our current water supply. Also in attendance with us this evening is Colonial Water. And so first of all, what I would like to do is, gentlemen at Colonial, would you like to introduce yourselves?
Sure. My name is Donald Vaughn. My name is Nick LaChance.
What is your name again, sir?
Nick LaChance.
Okay.
And I am Bob Gallo.
Okay. Good evening, gentlemen, and thank you very much for attending this meeting. So first of all, I would just like to try and frame what we're trying to accomplish here in this segment of our meeting. So what we would like to do is provide, first of all, the town will provide you with an overview of what we have done, and with the help of our representative, Denise Garlick. And then I'm going to turn it over to Colonial Water to describe the situation and what they have done and what their plans are for the future. And then I will pose, we received numerous questions from residents of Dover. I will pose those questions to Colonial Water and hopefully get answers. Following that, if there are any questions that have not been asked, we would be happy to ask those questions. And then we're going to wrap up this portion of the meeting and move on to the next portion of the meeting. This is just the beginning. Paramount to us as a town is getting this water situation cleared up, getting all those customers and residents that are on Colonial Water, clean water for them to drink. Once we have established that, we will address some of the other issues that have come up. But to us, the most important thing is rectifying the current situation as quickly as we possibly can. So from a town perspective, I and Chris, fill in any gaps because I have a tendency to be very high level and miss some important details. So from a town level, what we have done is we were notified on June 11th that Colonial had found E. coli in the water. Immediately once we were notified, we determined that it was imperative for us to get the information out as quickly as possible on all the town available communication channels. So what we did was we immediately posted it on the town's social media pages. Those include the town's Facebook page, the town's Twitter feed. We also contacted the chief of police. The chief has close to 2,000 followers, and we asked him to post on his channels that there was E. coli in the water and that there was a boil water order in effect for all residents. We then said, well, not everybody has social media or Twitter accounts, so how then are we going to capture those individuals? And we reached out to the COA, and Janet, once again, with everything she's doing, put together a list, and thank you, Janet, put together a list and started an outreach to all seniors to ensure that they were aware of the boil water order. We believe that with all these communication efforts, we were able to get, there's duplication of effort, but at least 6,000 residents of Dover, and some of them would be hit 3 or 4 times. Also important, our new website, for those of you that don't know, you can sign up to get alerts, and we encourage you all to do that. If you need help, you can contact the Board of Selectmen staff and we can help you navigate how to sign up to get alerts. But what that will do is each time something new happens that the town is aware of, that alert will get pushed down to your email account and you will know. So I've been getting regular updates from the town. I am a Colonial Water customer. I've been getting regular updates from the town on what has transpired. As a town, we were very concerned about, the E. coli. So we reached out to Representative Denise Garlick and asked her to help us navigate so that we could understand, certainly we understand that from a Board of Health perspective, the town is responsible to ensure the safety of their citizens. And the Board of Health reached out to many of the citizens. They've also asked anybody who's had symptoms of E. coli or to let them know, and they will help you navigate those channels. But we wanted to know from a regulatory perspective what needed to happen, what was happening, and whether or not it was happening as quickly as it could. And I can't tell you how appreciative I am of Denise Garlick, who set up a meeting with the DEP for us so that we as a town could understand what those requirements are. And the meeting happened this afternoon. And I don't know, Denise or Chris, if you want to give just a really high level overview, but that was a very productive meeting. And, we feel as a town more knowledgeable to be able to navigate through this unfortunate circumstance. So Denise or Chris, do either of you want to give a quick update?
I'll let Denise speak to this afternoon.
Okay. You're on mute, Denise. Thank you.
Better now? Yes. So first I want to say hello to everyone. We have 103 Dover constituents on, and this is on Facebook Live. So to everyone, my best wishes for your health. This is a difficult situation in a very, very difficult time. Today I have been working with our Board of Selectmen, with the town administrator, and with the Board of Health. My office has had a great deal of interest in the water situation in Dover for many months, prior to even the crisis that we're facing now. But in my role as a state representative, we were able certainly to broker this meeting today with the Department of Environmental Protection. I'm in touch with Mass DPH, and this afternoon, and I have shared this information in an email with Chris Dwelly. I'm in touch with the Assistant Secretary of the Executive Office of Environmental Affairs. The things that I am sure of now that I've heard, and I'm sure the Board of Selectmen will want to confirm this with Colonial Water, is around the emergency chlorination system, that how that system needs to be manned, the frequent testing of the chlorine residuals, that the continual sampling that has to take place during this process, and that there needs to be a very certain timeline on how we look at the water. 2 tests that are 12 hours apart, both have to be negative. And I am confident that the Board of Selectmen are going to look at that. That I am also confident that the Department of Environmental Protection now and the Executive Office of Environmental Affairs is very focused on the issue that's happening in Dover. And to the residents of Dover, one of the things that I hope that I was helpful with in the meeting that we had today is I'm deeply concerned that you're being asked to go to a water tank in a time where we have restrictions around COVID-19 and when we're experiencing a heat wave, and tried very hard to make a case that the residents of Dover, some will need bottled water as well. And I believe that Colonial Water is going to move on that issue as well. So anything that I can do to be helpful, but I want to express my respect for the town administrator who has been on top of this issue consistently, for our Board of Health, who is bearing the responsibility of many of these decisions. And I have asked DPH in what ways they can be a support for our Board of Health, and to our Board of Selectmen, who are so acutely attuned to what's happening here. I would be remiss if I didn't tell you that Senator Mike Rush is also on the call and was present in the meeting virtually today with DEP, and a source of tremendous strength for the town of Dover and for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Denise. I forgot to unmute myself. And so now I would like to turn it over to Colonial Water. I think what we would like to hear from you first is what a timeline of events. I think there might be some misinformation about when you first learned of E. coli in the water. We would also like to understand what you have done to date. And then we would like to know what the plan is to remediate the current situation, and then long-term, what your plans are to ensure that this situation doesn't occur again. Once you've gone through that, what I will then do is I do have a list of questions from the town citizens that I will pose to each of you. So gentlemen, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. Just to get to the timeline of events, as you mentioned,
could you maybe speak up? It's a little hard to hear you, if you wouldn't mind, or get closer to the microphone. Sorry.
Can you hear me now? Hello, can you hear me now?
That's much better, thank you.
So just as a timeline on what transpired, as you mentioned just a couple moments ago, that there was a little bit of misinformation on when things were discovered. So I'm just going to kind of go through a quick timeline of what happened. So we do monthly sampling for coliform as a state requirement. And on June 3rd, we took a routine raw water sample from our well A at Francis Street. And that's where we have one of our pump stations. And at that time, a presence of one colony of total coliform was detected, and 9 other samples were taken at the same time that all came back negative for total coliform. So at that point, we informed the state, and that is not, that is not a violation where a boil water order would go into effect. And at that point, the state, we didn't have to make any notification. What we did, we voluntarily resampled, and we took repeat samples on the 4th, and the results on the 5th, again, like I said, showed no concern, public concern, because of the coliform that was found. And then on the recommendation of DEP, we chlorinated well A on June 8th and flushed the well on June 9th, 2020. And this is at the Francis Street station. Repeat samples were collected on June 10th and submitted for analysis. On June 11th, around 2:30, we were notified by the lab that there was a presence of E. coli in the distribution system, and we immediately notified Mass DEP of the situation and was told this would trigger a boil order. Upon that, we immediately sent out a message on our reverse call system. It's called RAVE, so that would contact residents who were registered in the database by either email, phone call, or text message. So that was done. At the same time, we printed up, several hundred of the boil water orders, and we delivered them on June 11th and into June 12th. Per Mass DEP regulations, we have to notify everyone within a 24-hour period. So we took the customer list for Colonial, and we delivered those boil waters, to every resident. So that's what happened in the week between the first total coliform detection and when the actual E. coli was detected. Now again, total coliform is not, not an issue that we have to inform or notify for that. And again, as we said, we voluntarily took those steps to keep testing the water to make sure it was safe. And of course, once we found out there was E. coli, we took those appropriate actions.
And could I just get some clarification based upon the DEP guidelines? The first test, the results that you got from the TC in the first test, that is not a reportable event. Is that correct?
Oh, we reported to the DEP, but it's not an event that we have to. It's not a violation where we have to extend an order,
Okay.
get the boil order order, and or publicly notified. So it's not a violation at that point. So we were within Mass DEP regulations on it. So if I can move forward then, what are we doing now? Once we receive that order, of course, now we have to take samples every day. So we are sampling both the well water and distribution water on a daily basis, sending them out for analysis. And that was something that we'll have to do until we receive consecutive clean test samples for the order to be lifted. So that's one thing we're doing. The second thing we're doing now is, as we were before, is we're chlorinating and flushing the affected wells. And we're doing that on a rotating basis. Another thing we were doing is flushing the system. We've already done that a couple of times since this whole issue has arisen, and we continue to do that. So that's going to be part of our corrective action as we move forward. We submitted an emergency chlorination plan to the DEP, which was approved, and we are going to be implementing. So we'll be chlorinating the water coming from that affected well. And what that is also going to do, just as an aside, currently that facility is not chlorinated because there hasn't been any issues like this. So going forward, we're now doing we begin emergency chlorination. Our long-term view for that is we want to get permanent chlorination established at that station, so that this E. coli in the distribution system doesn't happen again. On the water delivery side, we had a tanker of water delivered on, I believe, Tuesday, and we're prepared to start dispensing. We had bought the water from a Mass DEP certified water hauler. Before we could, we were going to dispense the water, but we were told to hold off on that by Mass DEP because they wanted some additional information. And again, I stress that we bought this from a state-approved or a Commonwealth-approved supplier. So we provided the information that the DEP requested, and we're approved today to distribute that water from the tanker. While doing that, we also got on the business of buying bottled water buying bottled water for that people can pick up. So that again, well, given the entire COVID issue right now, bottled water in large quantities is difficult to come by, but we were able to procure 500 cases of purified water, which were delivered this morning to the town garage, where people have all day been coming out and picking up the water. So that's something that we're going to provide through the weekend, hours of 9 to 6 every day. And we'll replenish that water as necessary as long as this issue goes on. So that is where we are at the moment. Again, sampling and testing every day. We're now emergency chlorinating, and we're hoping with that flushing, that will remedy the situation. On the subject of the emergency chlorination plan that was brought up, there's several things we need to do that we're going to be doing.
So can I ask you a question? So is chlorination the way you flush the E. coli out of the system? Is that the remedy right now?
Well, right now, yeah, the chlorination is a disinfectant. Chlorine is a disinfectant
Right.
that is going to will kill the E. coli. So what we're going to do now with this chlorination plan is
So then can I just ask ignorance a follow-up question? So it's chlorination is almost, you put bleach in the water or a substance like that in the system, correct?
Yeah.
So that you have to flush the system to make the water safe for drinking?
No, chlorination, a lot of systems, the majority of systems, I would say, chlorinate their water, and it's not something that comes out before it reaches the tap. That's something that stays in the water, and there's acceptable levels of chlorine residual in the water.
Okay.
That's mandated by the EPA, mandated by the Mass DEP. So there's always, with this emergency chlorination, there is going to be chlorine in the water, but it's not going to be at an unsafe level.
If I could just interrupt here, Bob, we presently chlorinate at the Draper Station, and we maintain a residual there, and that's for that express purpose.
So it's moving forward with this emergency chlorination. Like I said, we got approval today. There'll be certain testing standards that we have to abide by. For instance, let me back up a minute. The hours of operation of the chlorination system are going to be from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then at that time, we turn the chlorination off for the night, switch over to a well that has clean test results. The reason being that the chlorination has to be manned by a certified operator the entire time this chlorination system is running. As part of the testing of that system, we're going to have to take chlorine residuals at the plant every 15 minutes for the first hour of operation, and then every hour thereafter. In addition to that, around the distribution system around town, we're also going to be taking chlorine residuals there. So what we want to do is, as we inject this chlorine into the system, we're going to be flushing hydrants and leaving what's called leader lines on hydrants. So flow is constantly going through the system. What that will do is draw the chlorine into the system and help disinfect everything. So that's the intent of the chlorination plan.
Okay. So what is the time frame? When can we expect the chlorination to be successful and complete? Do you have a time frame for when the water will be safe to drink?
Unfortunately, at this time, we have to wait until we get consecutive clean samples from that. So that's really going to be also dependent on flushing out our wells, which I said we're doing, on a constant basis, daily basis. So it's really, the E. coli was in the groundwater, which is how it was introduced into the well.
I didn't quite hear what you said. E. coli was where?
Oh, the E. coli showed up in the wells, so it was introduced from the groundwater that's moving through the area. So that's where it came from. So that's where we really have to solve the problem as well, is get that E. coli out of the wells, the source. So so as far as the timeline goes, again, we're testing every day, chlorinating. It's going to really be dependent on when we get those clean samples. So we're making our efforts going out there and flushing, doing the chlorination testing. But it's really, we can't put a finger on the exact day when we're going to be able to have the word ready.
So did it take a week to put this chlorination plan in place to get approved by DEP? And
yes, we were
so
following.
are you not required as a water company to have a chlorination plan in place? like businesses are required to have disaster recovery programs in place. So I'm just trying to understand what the requirements are.
Well, no, it was, like I said before, it's not a chlorinated station because our test results are clean. We haven't had an issue like this at the station
Okay.
before.
So I actually got a couple of people have asked if you could get closer to the mic. They're having a hard time hearing you.
Sure.
All right. You have a lot of really good information, but
I hope so. That's we're trying to do that here tonight is keep everybody informed. So again, as I mentioned before, putting my finger on the day the order will be lifted is difficult because we're trying to get the wells cleaned out. And again, as I said, it's in the groundwater. And just to go, if you want me to expand on that a bit, because I know there was a question about that. What we suspect is there could be a plume of E. coli, passing through the area in the groundwater. So it's not something that we would have been able to introduce ourselves into the wells because the wells have heads on them that are secured and they can't be opened. You have to unbolt them and take them off. And we haven't done that any time in the recent past where that would have potentially been a source of contamination. So that being the case, the only apparent other source would be the groundwater itself, and that can be contaminated in any number of ways. It could be from heavy rainstorms. It could be from septic systems, and those things of the sort. Animals. So that the coliform is a fecal indicator. So it's generally from a human or an animal that this bacteria came from. So it's in the groundwater, and that's what we're trying to do now is get the wells clean so that we're pumping clean water into distribution.
are there measures that you can take to ensure that it doesn't happen again? I mean, are there things that you can do that will ensure that E. coli cannot penetrate your wells?
No, it's it's in the groundwater. So there's a groundwater table. Groundwater has movement. Groundwater will move and migrate. So we can't control what's in the ground already. What we do is we draw that water from the ground. And in this case, right now, for the disinfection, we'll be treating it. But what's in the ground is beyond our control.
Bob, John Jeffries, is it likely that you've tested the wells and the wells we're talking about are in close proximity to other wells that are not colonial water wells? So there's a degree of likelihood that this could have been present in any well, specifically private wells.
That's certainly a possibility. Like I said, it's and this is just on my part, a theory that there could be a plume. Think of and when I say plume, think of a cloud floating through the sky. It will pass by you. So that's what that's why I kind of liken that to. But if there is indeed a plume moving through the groundwater, it certainly could reach private wells. Particularly if there are a lot of septic systems in the area. There's usually a separation distance between a well and a septic system. So it can get in there any number of ways. But yes, you are correct that this could be impacting private wells.
Thank you. And Madam Chair, if I may, just a couple of quick points that I would really like to speak to, or like you to speak to, Bob, or Don, depending upon who you feel is the appropriate party. Could you just speak to the enforcement level of the providers in your business, specifically regarding the state? As you've heard, and everybody on the call and the meeting this evening has heard, we have had a very quick, appropriate thoughtful response from Denise and from our state legislature and our state aides and the aides in their office, which we cannot thank enough. And again, there's been a lot of misinformation in this part, in this particular segment. Would you please speak to the enforcement level and the oversight level of your operation as a provider?
Sure, I'll begin with that, John. Obviously, we abide by the Mass DEP regulations. We're publicly regulated, so we have to abide by those. And as far as enforcement, if I'm understanding you correctly, enforcement of our own regulations, is that what you're asking me? Yes,
I'm speaking to specifically the level of enforcement at the DEP at the state level, the umbrella upon which you operate under.
Yeah, well, so if, we're subject to monthly testing, we report those to the DEP, and if they're, in this case, E. coli, that's reported to them. And enforcement then ensues, where they issue the boil water order. In this case, they gave it to us. They wrote it up, gave it to us, and we distributed it. So as far as enforcement goes, if we don't abide by these regulations, we're subject to enforcement. And as far as our own company, we enforce the duties of our operators in the field. They are responsible for the daily system operation. They take all of the required samples and provide those reports to the state. So it's, again, it's a system of state regulations that we follow. So it's not it's not something that we would develop on our own. Just like any public water system, they're subject to those regulations.
And thank you. This case, in this particular instance, would not be brought, or has not been brought, to any federal level of oversight or regulations based upon what's happened as we sit here this evening.
I think I can answer that, Bob. The DEP has to have regulations that are at least equal to the Safe Drinking Water Act or more stringent. In some cases, they have maximum contaminant levels that might be a little bit more narrow than, say, the EPA and the EPA's umbrella over the Safe Drinking Water Act, if that is what you're referring to.
Thank you. With regard, could you just speak to the system that you have in place, the reverse 911, if you will? You mentioned.
John, could we just go through a process? Those are all questions we're getting to. So if you don't mind, we're going to talk about
what's the process that we'd like to follow?
I would like to let Colonial go through, their presentation addressing what happens, how they're going to fix it. And then I have a lot of questions from citizens that I'd like
I suggest that we would take the questions from the board first and then have the questions from the citizens, because it's quite likely that we'll ask questions at the board level. And as you said earlier, not to be redundant.
John, one of the other things that I do want to address as part of this conversation with Colonial, because it's really important, is the communication breakdown that has occurred. And I think that's was part of your question, and that was part of what we wanted to talk about today. So, if you would like to ask a question, you can go ahead, but I do want to talk about what the town's done versus what Colonial's done, and the responsibilities of Colonial to reach out to their.
I think we were exactly on the same page, Madam Ex-Chairman.
Right.
Rio agrees.
Yes, Bob?
No, I'm just saying, so again, we have a lot of questions from the community.
Right, so
I'd like to get at those. And And I understand that just looking at some of the chat that's going on, there's still a lot of confusion about communication. There's concern about how many people, Colonial Water, how many customers do you have in Dover?
About, I think in the order of, so in total, there's roughly 660 customers in Dover. There's roughly 600 customers that are on the main system that are affected by the order.
Okay, thank you. Robin?
All right. So, this is not the first time we've talked to you about communication and the lack of communication. As a matter of fact, Mr. Vaughn, I believe in October or November, I talked about the need for Colonial to put a communication plan in place. And the question I'd asked you, which was one of the questions that we have now, is if I get my bill emailed, why can't I get a notification from Colonial? And you had mentioned that it's two different systems, and I understand that, but that Colonial is doing outreach to the customers to create a database so that going forward in emergencies such as the one we're in right now, you could reach out to customers. As I mentioned, I am one of your customers, and I did call up on Friday to ask why some customers received text messages and emails and I didn't. And I was told that, notices went out in bills for people to contact Colonial. I have to admit, my bad. I recycle your bills because I go online, see what I owe you, and I pay it. So I asked to put my name on the list, but I have yet to receive any information. So I don't know if more than one alert was sent out. I was told by the gentleman that I spoke to that I should check your website, which I have been doing regularly. Your initial emails really did not give a lot of information and were not very useful. Over time, you seem to have gotten better at the information that you are putting on the website. But again, there's a lot of misinformation that is out there. And, as a company, you aren't doing yourselves any favors by your lack of communication. So many people haven't gotten anything, including the flyer. So again, how are we going to fix this problem? Because it has to get fixed. You swore up and down 6 months ago that you were in the process of putting something together, but it has to get fixed, and it has to get fixed immediately because people are really concerned about the situation and they want information. Even if you can't tell them when they're going to be able to drink their water, they want to know what's being done. And so you have to get that information out there.
In response to that question, and I totally and sincerely understand the dire concern. I did mention to you about 6 months ago that we were installing what we call a rave system, which is intended to notify everybody either electronically or by cell or text. We have implemented that, but we have reached out, I think, a couple of times, and we're continuing to reach out for contact information. We also, at the notice of the boil order, which I think we received perhaps maybe around 4 o'clock Thursday. I think that was June maybe through the 11th, I believe. We had flyers printed up, and we individually walked around and distributed those flyers. I think we went till about 1 a.m. Saturday morning, and then we continued, rather Friday morning, and we continued Friday to complete. Regarding the rave system, we don't have a complete database we're continuing to reach. I think maybe we have maybe 40 or 50% now, somewhere in that area. And we're again reiterating the request on our bills to have people. Now, I understand that that is an attempt and it's still in process, but we do sincerely believe that the RAVE system is our answer, but it's only as good as the degree of completion of the contact and the database. So it's still in process.
And that would be the most immediate form of communication with us, because we would.
Right, but you know, I have a couple of people, and I am one of them as well. I have not received any updates on the emails since giving my name and email contact and cell phone number to the gentleman that I spoke to on Friday. And there are many people that have said the same thing. Also, over the years, I think putting flyers in bills or invoices has proven to be unsuccessful. So if you truly are committed to putting together a database, I suggest that you send out a postcard. You then cross-reference all the information that you have gotten to your customer list, and you call those customers that haven't given you the information. You know, as a business, if I were you as a business, I would make every effort to get the contact information of every one of my customers.
Let's hear about the next steps, Robin.
Okay. Next steps going forward, once we get, well, obviously I explained a bit about what we're doing now and what we're going to do to resolve the immediate situation. Going forward, as I said before, we plan to pursue permanent disinfection at the pump station. Don was just talking about the RAVE system. That's something that really needs to be completed, the database, so that we can have more immediate contact. And going forward, we're also going to work with the DEP. We're in close contact with them through this entire process, and to that point as well, I've been in regular contact with Chris Dwelly, so he's been disseminating some of that information that I've been passing along. We're providing that information on our website. You are providing that information on your website and social media. So we were using a single point of contact, which I think we may have discussed at that last meeting we attended. So moving forward, we want to get the proper treatment in place, make the necessary investment. We do invest heavily in the system. A question I did see mentioned aging infrastructure, but every year we do capital projects to try and make the system, more stable. For instance, at the Draper Road plant, we completely replaced all the electrical to make that better functioning. We are currently getting a permit from the Mass DEP to install what's called the floor-log disinfection there. So that adds some additional disinfection to the system. So that's what we're doing there. So we're making steps to try to, always making steps to try to make the system more dependable and reliable, deliver safe water.
And you might add, Bob, that we just completed a $450,000 capital investment over at the Norwood Pump Station, which is a treatment plant in itself.
Right. So we are, moving forward where we plan to continue to reinvest in the system. That's, we have a yearly capital program that we put in place so that we are tracking what's being done. We evaluate areas of the system that may need work. For instance, what I just mentioned about Draper Road. So it's an ongoing thing that we have here. We're always evaluating what needs to be done out there.
In this situation, this is an unforeseen circumstance here that the groundwater was contaminated. So hopefully, full disinfection will help it.
All right, so I think I'm going to get to some of the questions, and there are many questions. I am going to try and address all of the questions. There are many more questions that are coming through on the chat. We will make a copy of the chat and provide you with those questions. And then what we will do is put all the questions up on the website with answers to them so that people can get answers to the questions, because this evening we don't really have enough time to answer every question, and it's hard.
Before we get to the questions, as you mentioned, there'll be many of them. There's a couple of procedural questions I'd like to ask before we get to our citizens' questions. Specifically, does Colonial Water have a system of reimbursement for expenses that the town will incur or that individual citizens will incur? Like Robin, I am a customer of yours. We did go over and received 3-gallon jugs that you provided in this first process, but that is hardly sufficient for the town or for a family or for anybody for that matter. So the questions, a reimbursement of expenses, your strategy for mitigating the town's financial impact on this, and specifically speak to the individual homeowners. What's your plan going forward?
I'll take a shot at that. We've already said that we would refund bottled water purchases provided based on the receipts that are rendered. Right now, we've wrapped our collective minds around the refund policy. We haven't come up with a specific plan yet. A real priority, and you can hopefully understand that as regretful as this situation is, and we regret that it has occurred in the first place. But our first priority is to get the system running so that it is delivering safe, clean, pure water. That's our number one priority, and it has been all-consuming since February, I beg your pardon, Friday, June 12th. It's been very intense. We've been involved in many aspects here, not only in public relations, but posting on the website, getting daily updates, monitoring results, managing field personnel. That's our chore, and that's what we've been fully occupied with. So to answer your question as succinctly as I can, we have not come up with a definite policy, but we will come up with something, and we will communicate that in some fashion.
So Robin, are you going to take questions?
I have questions. I'm going to give them questions.
Okay.
John, have you completed asking the question?
One other thing, Robin, if I may, as a follow-up, and this again speaks to Don, what Denise Garlick had mentioned earlier. This couldn't have happened at a time of more heightened awareness, and it just seems very problematic to ask citizens to come to the town garage for us to somehow have citizens fill up containers of water in this era of we have to comply with COVID regulations. It just seems that whole process is fraught with many chances for people to not be in compliant with the things that we're trying to ask our citizens to be in compliant of. So the gallons of water is a very good start, but and certainly we take your word for this that you're going to do the best you can. You've got to deliver a whole lot more, a whole lot faster. We need to get our citizens, specifically the ones that are most at risk, a solution. We need to do it, as Robin said, right now.
Yes, and just to speak about the tank of water, the tanker, we have
as part of dispensing that water, and I've discussed this with Chris, who I believe then discussed it with the Board of Health. We're following COVID precautions. We're not going to have individual residents, grab the hose and fill up themselves. What we're going to have is, our operator there, masks and gloves, and we'll have gloves available there for residents too, so that they can drop their container, step away. Our operator can fill it for them, and everyone's again wearing gloves at this point and socially distanced. So the tanker itself is the most. It's the most immediate and large volume water that can be collected. So with 600 plus customers on the main Dover system, having the logistics of water delivery door to door wouldn't be feasible. People would be waiting, more than a day to get water. So the tanker was our solution, which by the way is a solution used by many water companies in a situation like this. Bulk water deliveries is what they're called. So that really we're instituting COVID restrictions or COVID precautions while we're doing this. So again, the tanker will provide the most volume. If it gets low, it's easy enough to get something like that delivered. As I alluded to earlier, solid water purchases are very difficult to get delivered in a short amount of time. And that kind of inventory, for instance, the 500 cases that were delivered today, had to come from several distribution centers, just because inventory is low and we're asking for a lot of water. So we think the tanker is a good option as long as we follow those precautions.
I like it.
Madam Chair, may I make a comment? It's Carl Warnick.
Yes, you may, Carl.
I witnessed no masks on the employees that were passing out bottled water today, no gloves, walking right up to the residents. That needs to be addressed as far as the COVID issue.
And ladies and gentlemen who are joining the call and do not know who Carl is the director of our facilities for the town of Dover. Thank you, Carl.
So, and
the water operator and responsibility of the town's water distribution system.
Thank you, sir.
We'll follow up on that immediately.
I also got a complaint from a resident earlier today that one of your employees asked a resident in her neighborhood to distribute flyers, and that is not acceptable either.
I'm not aware that has happened.
I'm just letting you know what I heard.
Yeah, we distributed all the flyers ourselves, so I'm not sure where that would have come up. We had the notification done in 24 hours, so.
Well, there was supposedly another notification today, if I got the thing right.
There wasn't another notification today. What we did release was we released a statement on our website into several news organizations, two news organizations today, but we didn't hand out any additional flyers today.
Right. So another question that I've had is about the quality of the water in the water tanker. How long has it been sitting there, whether or not that's safe? But now we are also concerned about the distribution of that water from the tank.
Well, like I said, we're following the COVID precautions, which we got concurrence from the town on for distributing that water. We didn't just the state requested that we get concurrence from the town before we start distributing water from the tank. The water that's in the tank is fresh, clean water. It's actually purchased. The bulk water hauler purchases it from a company called Niagara Bottling. So they bottle water, and and that in turn is provided by a municipal water system that's also a public system. So, the safety of the water, that same water is being bottled and sold in stores. So there isn't any concern, about the safety of it. We took a sample yesterday and tested it for bacteria. It came back completely absent. So that's when the state gave us permission to use it. So it's safe water. It's not polluted in any way. It's like I said, it's water that you would buy in a store and drink out of a bottle.
All right.
But I might just add to that the particular vendor that we purchased from is a Mass DEP approved vendor. And they have met the requirements that are designated by Mass DEP to be a water delivery provider in the state of Massachusetts.
Okay, so then I'm trying to organize all these questions also on water distribution. There was a question about what efforts you're making to get water to those senior citizens that cannot carry a heavy jug of water from the tanker to their car, carry heavy jugs of water, or may not be able to leave their homes. So this person would like to know what efforts are being made to get water to those customers.
Okay, yesterday I was in touch with the Council on Aging, and last night was sent a list of persons that may have difficulty and would need water delivered. We've gone out today and dropped off water to those residents. If there are cases where people cannot leave their homes, we would make accommodations for delivery of bottled water. So as far as people who cannot get out of their house or for whatever reason, we've been accommodating that, as we've gone along. So I was in touch with Janet at the COA, and that's how we address that.
All right. There's also been concerns raised by numerous citizens, and we'll give you a list of all these questions about the abilities of you as an organization and your employees to actually run and manage this water system in accordance with DEP and DPU guidelines. They are concerned that your employees don't have the right certifications and don't understand how to operate a water system.
I think I can answer that. We have a certified operator that's responsible for the Dover system, fully conversant and fully familiar with the operation. We have two assistants that work with them. They work there every day. We have two people generally on site. The oversight would come from the higher certified operator. I happen to oversee them. Bob happens to oversee them, as well as Nick. We watch there and review their daily activities. We're in touch with them. We communicate with them. So they have plenty of support. If there's an issue that's going on, we try to address it. We're addressing a couple of issues right now that have nothing to do with the E. coli situation in a water utility. Things are happening all the time. It's a very capital intensive and management intensive system. It's a 24/7, 365 operation. So everybody's on alert, on guard. There may be some things that we don't hit, but we will get there. We have main breaks, we have leaks, we have pumps, we have treatment centers. And again, we regret that this situation has happened. We don't want it to happen again. We are thinking long term. As Bob kind of alluded to, we're looking at chlorination of the system. It has never historically been chlorinated. We want it such that there will always be drinking water that's safe to drink, regardless of what's going on in the source. So these are the things that are on our plate. We spent a lot of money in the system. We probably, we spend in excess of $100,000 to $150,000 annually, and that is on average. But there are years that we get into the $500,000 range. So it's we want the system to run properly, and it is very regretful that this situation occurred. We really don't have a lot of control on what's happening in the groundwater. So we are concerned about many things. We're under regulation by DEP. We have many factors that we have to face, like per capita per day demand and other things that are too numerous to mention. So that's our charge, and I hope that, and I think DEP would bring to our attention right away that we were not capable of running the system.
And to add on to what Don was saying, all those facilities, the pump stations and the like, we have our operators out there who diagnose issues at the station. There's a lot of mechanical parts to these stations, and as we know, mechanical parts break down. So we have people there, we have skilled people there that can diagnose these situations. We continually bring in outside vendors, specialty vendors, to diagnose as well if there's an issue. Maintaining the system, main breaks. We don't have too many out there because the system's in fairly good shape. But we're constantly doing leak detection, which is part of the system operation to find places where there might be a hole in the main or something like that. So as far as our ability to operate the system, we have professionals in place that do that. And speaking to the present situation with the E. coli, as Don mentioned, it's in the groundwater. So I don't think that a substance being present in the groundwater that was introduced somewhere would have any bearing on our ability to run a system. Again, we're someone who's a victim of what's in the water that we're drawn.
Madam Chair, hey, Madam Chair, this is Senator Rush. Can I jump in here, please?
Yes, you may.
I appreciate it. Thank you. And to the Board of Selectmen and the Town Administrator for really dealing with such a difficult situation. As mentioned earlier, you've got the fiercest #1 supporter in Representative Garlick, and I'm happy to partner with her in this endeavor for the citizens of Dover. And I'm hearing a lot of different things going on, but I've dealt with DEP in many different issues over the years in different areas of my district. And a lot of our entities say they are in compliance with DEP regs, the DEP regs, okay? And that's one entity, but the reality is, and I had a discussion this afternoon after our meeting this morning with DEP with Representative Garlick, and we think this is something really because 9 days into it, I've been telling people through the entire corona pandemic that, hey, you know what? As bad as everything is, at least we have, most of us have a home to sleep in, food to eat, and clean water to drink. So this flies in the face of that. And I understand the good intentions I'm hearing and the hard work being done, but the reality is this process needs to be dealt with legislatively to ensure that all companies providing water have contingency plans and that DEP is changing their way of doing business. So Representative Garlick and I spoke this afternoon that we are going to file legislation to address and deal with this issue so this does not happen to Dover ever again or any other community in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Thank you.
Thank you, and we appreciate that, Senator Rush. So going back to the questions, another question that has come up frequently is why aren't you considering installing UV filters, because that would kill the E. coli in your system?
Well, you can install a UV filter down in the well casing. That's just not possible. UV disinfection is one form of disinfection.
We are using, we will be using chlorine disinfect. UV filters are often used with surface water systems where you have water flowing under this filter or under this UV light. So UV disinfection really isn't applicable to a groundwater system like this, where everything comes up through a pipe, piped into a tank, it's treated. That's the type of system we're working with. UV, like I said, is one form. So we're going to use another form, the most common, which is chlorination.
Right, so actually at a Board of Health or water quality meeting, there was a professor that talked about, a subject matter expert that talked about UV filtration would eliminate this problem going forward. The other question that consistently comes up is the belief or the assumption that the cause of the E. coli in the water is due to the consistent overdrawing of your permit.
We're not overdrawing the permit to the extent that DEP has remarked. I think we're maybe slightly over that, but it is not consistent. And one of the things that we've been able to do probably in the last 2 months is to identify through leak detection at least 3 locations where leaks are going to drop that we're drawing down. We haven't measured that performance yet, but we're very encouraged that will occur.
All right, but there has been overdrawing of the permit. That's a fact.
It would, but your point is well taken. Part of that withdrawing has got to do with irrigation, and we're trying to discourage irrigation to the extent that it comes in more into the target levels of the gallons per capita per day that have been set by DEP. So it's a responsibility that we need to work with in conjunction with the town.
Right, and the town is committed to working on conservation of water. The other issue or the other concern of citizens is that the Colonial's position that they have excess capacity, but you can't really handle the 600 customers that you have right now. So would you like to comment on that? And again, the concern here is there's overdrawing of the permit. There are too many households that get water from you, and you don't have the infrastructure to service your customers.
Well, the infrastructure would be largely the distribution system, so that is not an issue.
Well, also the staffing based upon the way this situation has been handled. So not only the water infrastructure, but the infrastructure in your organization.
I don't understand that. The infrastructure.
Manpower.
Oh,
I mean, on any given day, 9 times out of 10, we have 2 operators that are maintaining and operating the Dover system for, again, roughly 650 customers or so, which is, from most situations that we've seen, and certainly with other systems that we manage, is more than adequate to handle the demands of that particular system. As far as some of the regulated items that go into that would be sampling, and we don't miss samples. We are managing our sampling schedule as effectively and precisely. I think DEP would agree with us on that. Is the mandates of the system from an operational standpoint are happening on a daily basis. So from an operational standpoint, I think we're all kind of looking at each other a little perplexed as to how we're not meeting the operational standards.
And to add to that, if there, if there is an issue that requires more resources, we have operators for other Massachusetts systems. It's not uncommon for us if, if additional, like for instance, in this situation, we've had additional operators in the area helping out with flushing, sampling, and just the everyday work, setting up the chlorination system. So as far as manpower goes, we certainly have the manpower required to run the system.
Okay.
We'd be happy to discuss that a little bit more in depth, as long as we know the perspective from which that question is being asked.
Okay.
So Robin?
Another concern, and this is a big concern of people, is the need for homeowners to flush their own systems, and who will bear the cost of that excess water that they'll be utilizing to flush their systems.
Madam Chair, could I put a little comment on that request? Carl Warren.
I am just the messenger. You may, Carl.
I'm trying to verify. I don't know what their procedure is for flushing the town system, because as you know, the town pays for overage. We have 6 dead ends on the system that have not been flushed at all, and I don't know what the plan is for that as far as reimbursements to the town for the overage. And we've had a hit on Meeting House with E. coli with the same sample date as the townhouse that did not have a hit. Now we have a clean hit on, no hit on Meeting House, and we had a hit of E. coli in the townhouse as of yesterday sampling that I was notified today. So I think they really need to concentrate on their whole system, because we got 70 plus customers on the town's distribution system that's not being addressed.
Well, we are going to be, as I stated earlier, we're going to be pushing chlorinated water through the system, which is also going to push through the town system as well. So that's, that's the action we're taking. If there's E. coli present from water being pumped into the system, it's very likely that you would have some in the Dover system as well.
No, I disagree, because and I suggested to shut the Walpole Street service line down and just feed from Norwood. So we've been presently on Norwood, and now we're getting E. coli hits at the townhouse, which is in the beginning of the distribution system.
Hi, Carl. Hi, my name is Linda Abadikian. I'm sitting here in my neighbor's kitchen with Cheryl McDonald. When you say townhouses, can you be more specific?
It's the townhouse, the Dover town.
The town hall.
Town hall.
The town hall. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I just needed.
They supply 70 customers that the town is not responsible. 70 town customers in the distribution of the town, the town-owned distribution, not their system.
Right. So, I think there are issues that you need to address with the town. I have asked most of the questions. We will again pull together a more comprehensive list, send it to Colonial, get answers, put it on the website. I think paramount is, what is your communication plan going forward? How do you plan to update us? What's happening? How do you plan to align expectations? I'm assuming the water is going to continue to be delivered to the town garage. And, is there a sense of urgency on your part to get this done as quickly as possible? Like, can the labs be open over the weekend to get your test results so that we save 2 days?
So what we do, the labs generally are not open on weekends, but what we do, we have found one lab that will accept samples on Saturday. And then as I said, we're sampling every day, and there's drop-offs that need to be refrigerated. So we are sampling every day and bringing them to the labs.
Okay.
Some labs, we're trying to find a lab, we're going to start using a lab that has provided written results more quickly. For instance, many labs do not provide written test results for 7 to 10 business days after the test. So that's just policy with the majority of them. So we are going to start taking our samples to a lab that it gives us a little more breathing room. Let us drop it off on a Saturday. So that's, as far as sampling, that's how we're going to be doing that moving forward.
And you did not answer my question about, because this has come up a lot. People are concerned, do they need to flush the pipes in their own homes? And what's the process? When you stop getting hits of E. coli on the source, is there still potentially E. coli in the pipes? And how do people flush their system, and who's going to pay for that water?
So when the sources are clear and we chlorinate the system, there shouldn't be any, it should resolve the E. coli issue once we get enough chlorine residual in the system, have some time to react with it. Once that's completed and we're ready to lift, boil water, we're going to make another outreach where we will, again, send out messages on our system. We will deliver letters to homes so that, people are updated on when this order will be lifted. In the meantime, we've posted, daily updates on our website. And as you mentioned earlier, a lot of the towns, I pass along information as well. And that information is I believe, sent through your channels and social media.
It is. But what about those people that don't have email? What are we doing to reach out to those people? Do we have a list of those individuals? Are we calling them daily to give them an update?
So there are a number of individuals that we don't have email for, and I don't have telephone numbers for. They just simply have an account in their name and an address, which is the service address and billing address associated with it.
I think it's important that you give those individuals' names to the town administrator, and we will find a way to contact them.
Okay, absolutely. The understanding or the method that we've been utilizing to update everybody is through the website, because it's one central platform that everybody can visit. So that way there we can kind of manage the communication so there's not miscommunication, that one group of individuals may get one message, but the other group never gets it, and then the message is lost in translation.
Right. When I think of communication, I think about my 90-year-old father who is not going to go to the website regularly and be panicked. So I really would like to understand what your communication plan is for those citizens that I'm on my computer all the time. I get updates. I'm not concerned about me. I'm concerned about the senior residents in this town. So perhaps you could work with the COA and they could give you a list of those people that are not regularly getting updates. And my expectation is that somebody from Colonial Water will call them daily and give them an update.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. We will incorporate that.
Okay.
So Robin?
Madam Chair, I have one question for you. Is the town's distribution system getting chlorinated? Because if we're getting the source from Norwood, which came back clean, and they're flushing down to the meter pit with the chlorination, how is the chlorination getting into the town's infrastructure for chlorination?
To the point of information, could people identify themselves, Robin?
Carl Warnick.
I'm sorry, Carl Warnick.
Thank you.
town of Dover.
Carl, I think
Because as far as I know, the chlorination has not hit the distribution in the square. And we've had at least 2 hits on E. coli. One came back clean. Then the next test they did, it came back with E. coli.
Well, the emergency chlorination plan was just approved today. So we are going to begin pushing chlorine out into the system. You know, the Dover system is a confluence of several well fields. Okay, so any one, you know, we had some questions where people had asked what well we're in. And it's a question that, you know, the fact is that we've got several wells in several locations all contributing to the same distribution system. So
yes.
So we're chlorinating at Draper Road. We're going to be doing this emergency chlorination, and then as we move forward, pursue permanent chlorination at Francis Street. What that will do is it will push chlorine through the town system as well.
Yeah, as soon as you open up the Walpole Street feed. But from what I understand, you're relying to supply the town system of 70 plus customers from Norwood that came back negative. But obviously it's been contaminated from the Walpole Street side that needs to be chlorination in the town system, including all the dead ends.
Carl, I think I can answer that. This is Don Vaughn speaking. I think you're referring to the 2 pressure gradients. One is which is the town is on, and the other one is the Francis Ave system. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So we could simply shut Norwood off, the Norwood station, and the Francis station would feed the town system through the PRV.
That is correct. It would, but presently it's not.
Well, we haven't started, and we're just beginning to institute the chlorination plan. Carl, as Bob referenced, we haven't started the chlorination.
No,
yet.
we received approval about 5 p.m. So everything was already set up and ready to go. So tomorrow we're going to start running it.
All right. So, you know,
It's just a point of interest. If the communication was better served from Colonial, that I would have mandated that the Walpole Street side supply would have been shut down immediately, and it wouldn't have contaminated 70 plus customers on the town's end through the distribution. And if I didn't get notified for 4.5 days later, I would have told them to do that. Instead of waiting until Friday to recommend that they shut the chlorination system down to the Walpole Street side supply down. And I mandated that they test the town system, town hall, and 3 other ones on the town system. And if I didn't recommend that on Friday of last week, it probably wouldn't have been done.
So, what I suggest we do going forward is that you and Chris meet with Colonial tomorrow to iron out exactly what needs to be done in connection with the town system. I also am going to suggest that we have a Board of Selectmen's meeting next week, and that Colonial attend that meeting, because there are a lot more questions and we can't be here all night, and we need to understand, you know, hopefully by next week, the situation will be rectified. But then again, we also need to understand what other things have been put in place so that this will never happen again. So Chris, perhaps we could coordinate a meeting for next week and have Colonial come to the meeting, and it could be it could be in the early part of the week. And, you know, again, Colonial, we're expecting communication, people would also like you to post the chlorination plan on your website for them to look at.
Okay, you can do that.
Yeah, we can, I can have that up tomorrow morning for everybody to view. Just one additional point would be is the statement that we referenced that we released to the couple of news stations today is also up on the website for everybody's reference. And that does lay out the series of events really that we kind of recapped at the beginning of the meeting.
Okay.
So Robin, it's pretty, I mean, there's a whole host of issues that this is supposed to be an update, and we were supposed to be focused on solving the immediate problem.
Right.
And that's to me, that's the most important thing. The second thing that I think is quite obvious is that the working relationship between the water company and the town is not up to snuff. It needs to be, I think it was Senator Mike suggested, it needs to be done, it needs to be attacked, it needs to be done now. And the way that we've worked with COVID really pulled a lot of resources together. We created a task force, we went across the town, we engaged all the people who were involved, and it's been including a massive effort at supporting people in need and in constant communication. And I think, Robin, Chris, John, we should really be having a COVID-like task force working from the town side with the water company on this is just taking way too long. It really needs to be done on a daily basis with frequent updates and using the full spectrum of communication tools that we've put together over the last several months to try to reach as many people as we can. And this absolutely makes the case that we have to have, citizens opt in to a database so we can get everybody the information. But more importantly, use the other tools to reach people who don't wed themselves to the internet and to people's websites. And so we've got to hit all of the customers. We've got to have regular communication. It needs to be accurate. It needs to be timely. And what's gone on so far, and I've been away for a couple of days, this simply is not good enough. I mean, this is like a D-. And I would like to get to at least a B or a B+ by the end of next week. And that's going to take a hell of a lot of work, pardon me, on the part of the Dover Water Company.
So
we're willing on our side.
Right. So just so you know, I guess people have been calling your office and they're being told that the soonest this problem would be rectified is June 26th or June 28th. Is that accurate information, or at this point, are you unsure? Because, citizens would like to know.
I can't comment on that. I'm unaware. We haven't given that information to our customer service people. We want to pursue the problem, as you know. We want to be as diligent on it as possible, but it's so difficult to determine how soon we can correct this problem. We're applying all resources that we have. We're doing it in conjunction with DEP. They're following us almost by the hour. We are working on it by the hour, but I don't know where that information came from. Do you happen to know, Bob?
They just said two people have said they called your office, so you might want to, talk to your employees. So I'm not sure where that information came from. Gentlemen, thank you for attending the meeting. We will be in contact with you about a meeting next week. And again, our expectation is you will continue to deliver water to the town. You will continue to communicate regularly. We will get you a list of those citizens that are not on email, and our expectation is that they're called daily with an update.
Robin, may I just add before we end the segment that there are things that we heard this evening, gentlemen, that were very informative. There are a lot of things that we heard that are deeply disturbing. I would like you to not only come back to us with this strategy of yours fine-tuned going forward, I would like you to think very clearly and deeply about a reimbursement effort or what type of financial strategy you are going to offer your customers in the town for this. To use the word inconvenience is just way too lightly a term. This is something that has been, as you've heard, deeply disturbing and impactful, negatively impactful to a lot of people. I am one of your customers. Robin's one of your customers. We have a relationship with you, and we really want you to be mindful of that relationship and considerate of what we need to do to deliver to our constituents.
Right, and I just want to clarify, there seems to be a lot of confusion about the town's contract for water through Colonial. So I think at the next meeting, we need to clarify that, the town's contract is just for the town, the center of town. So, there seems to be some confusion about, alternative ways to get water. So we need to have a whole nother meeting and many meetings, because water, as we all know from the Water Resource Committee, it's a big issue for Dover. It's a big problem and for everybody, and we need to make sure that every household in Dover can get water. So thank you again, gentlemen, and I'm going to turn this meeting over to Bob, and I'm going to kick back and relax.
Thank you.
Well, thank you all for participating. I guess it's tune in next week, and
Right.
I'm going to certainly expect much more robust communications from the water company. And the only way to combat misinformation is to provide high quality, regular, consistent messaging for the residents. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to move on to item 1.3, about an hour and a half.
And you'll see our attendance drop very quickly.
Yeah, I'm going to go have dinner.
It's dropping like flies.
From 128, Bob, is that a sign of things to come? We hand the baton to you and our attendance drops from 128 to 28.
Oh, gosh. All right, Chris, on the agenda is vote concerning the quorum for town meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations on your new.
Oh, yeah.
This item concerns, or this item is necessary in order to ratify the town's prior decision that was made in its pursuit of receiving quorum relief from Norfolk County Superior Court. As the board is aware, the state legislature filed legislation, which was then signed off by the governor to provide communities who have quorums for their open town meetings to reduce those quorums down to no less than 10% in order for those communities to have a town meeting before July 1 during the COVID-19 pandemic. So this motion simply ratifies the board's prior decision to reduce its quorum for the 2020 town meeting to 10%, so that the town can move forward with its town meeting, which is scheduled for June 29th.
All right, so the way it used to work at the Capital Budget Committee is we'd make the motion, there'd be discussion, and move on. Or should we, John, any comments? Robin, any comments?
No comment, Bob.
Okay, so I'm going to move the board. I'm going to move the board.
Jim Petty's, I don't know if Jim Petty wants to comment on this.
No, I think that's fine. I'm glad that you'll confirm the legislature's action, which is really just confirming the ruling that we got from the Norfolk County Superior Court. So thank you.
Okay, here we go. I move that the board reduce the quorum required under section 2-4 of the town's general bylaws for the town of Dover's 2020 annual town meeting, scheduled to take place on June 29th or 30th, 2020, to 18 registered voters, more than 10% of the required quorum.
John Jeffries, second.
All in favor, say aye.
I, Robin Hunter.
Hi, John Jeffries.
Aye, Bob Springett. Moving on to a lot of documentation. Item 1.4, town meeting information sessions. BOS, Chris Dwelly.
So this is the board's second informational session leading up to town meeting. The board hosted an informational session last week where the board went through for the community the warrant articles that will be on this year's town meeting. As many know, it is going to be an abbreviated town meeting just focused on the core financial articles that are necessary and essential for the town to continue its operation. So this is that agenda item. So we can continue. I'd actually kick it back to the discretion of the chair on if you want to follow the same format that we did last week, which was go through the slide presentation that we had put together, or if you'd like to just generally speak to the articles or have the moderator speak to the articles or staff. I defer back to the chair, but we can follow the same order that we did. We are prepared to follow the same order that we did last week.
The information session that we did last week was very detailed about the financial warrants. And it took about an hour, I think. So I was hoping that this would be a more summarized version, covering much of the same material, but with less detail.
Well, that being the case, I would suggest that we hold another 1 or 2 more detailed information sessions, because again, I think it's really important, given that this is almost a special town meeting. It's important to get the information out there to citizens and encourage citizens. You know, tonight's been a really long night and this was an unforeseen circumstance. And, but I feel strongly that we need to do a few more of the detailed presentations so that citizens can understand what is on the warrant at town meeting.
Hey, I agree, absolutely agree. And it's really a difficult thing to know just how much detail to provide, because if you give an awful lot of financial information, people get overloaded. And so, from my point of view, and I think it's right, we should do it, and we should do at least 1 or certainly 2 more.
Right.
But I mean, the budget breaks down into sort of 4 categories. One is making sure that we have the money to continue to provide the town the services that residents expect. The second part is that most of the budget is we meet all our financial obligations, you know, including the renegotiated salary increases for employees, teachers, et cetera, et cetera. The third thing that we have in the budget is to continue the modernization efforts that we started last May of 2019, to make sure that we could bring the town's work infrastructure up to speed, and that up to current standards, and that we could continue to move forward on that modernization effort. And then the last thing that we spent a fair amount of time on was the adjustments that we made, given the reality of COVID-19 and the likelihood that it will continue to be with us as we move forward. So those are sort of the 4 major themes that, you know, sort of represented by the finances. And I'm happy to move, you know, make sure that people know that we'll do our presentation at least 1 or 2 more times, so that people in town, two parts, can understand how the money is structured to be spent and why, and that if there are any questions about any of the particulars, that we can take the time to answer them.
Right.
You know, so it'd be like 4 open hearings.
I agree with both Bob and Robin, and it's just we do need to stress the guidelines, the navigational beacons, if you will, that we're keeping the town meeting, this particular town meeting to, Robin, your words are, it's almost like a special town meeting, I believe is accurate, because we have gone to every means necessary, and we are quite literally under the gun time-wise to get this meeting in before the 30th of June. So I would just express to everybody this evening, it is not our intent at all to not take the time necessary to once again go through each article and to stress its financial necessity. I do believe, as you've heard from both Robin and Bob and myself this evening, and I guess we should identify ourselves once again, John Jeffries, Board of Selectmen, that after almost 2 hours this evening of going through just the Colonial Water, it's probably a little bit of an overload on everybody to go through the detail that we went through last week. So I would be unanimous in our expressing the opportunity to do this again, Mr. Chairman. This meaning a deep, significant dive into this. So all the constituents who didn't get a chance to hear us the first time will get the chance at least a couple more times.
And it should not be on the same evening as a Board of Selectmen's meeting because it's just too much. So I think we should do another, Mr. Rapetti.
Thank you. I just wanted to encourage everybody to make sure that they attend the information sessions. We've been advised by the Board of Health and our consultant who's helping us trying to design a meeting that will be as safe as possible, that the shorter the meeting, the safer it will be. And which means that if people come to the town meeting fully informed about the issues, we'll be able to expedite the process and get people going home more quickly. So it's really a matter of safety as well, that people do their homework and come to the town meeting prepared to make points that they want to make, but not use it for purposes of a form of pretrial discovery. So we would greatly appreciate the efforts that people put into educating themselves ahead of time. Thank you.
Right, and one of the things, because we only have really a week until town meeting, so we need to have another information session next week. But even maybe not all the Board of Selectmen need to be there, but I would be happy to have or to host a session on Saturday morning. And if people, it might be a better time for people to attend and learn what's on the agenda. I have nothing else to do, so.
We should
And it's important to me that everybody understands what is on.
So the last one we did was in the morning at 10 o'clock.
We did one, so we need to do one next week in the evening, and I am volunteering to do one on Saturday, the 27th.
Robin, what worked really well with Carol and the number of different outreaches, meetings, and opportunities we had to interact with all the various groups, and with regards to Carol, was we segmented the opportunity. We focused specifically on the groups that in their time frames when they met. So I know it's going to be hard to do that, replicate that type of thing in this environment, but I'd suggest a Saturday morning and then again an evening or something along those lines.
Oh, we have a 20, what's the meeting notice? Felicia, don't yell at me.
40
Yep, so why don't we just tomorrow morning figure out when to hold those? And I agree, let's do another two more evenings and one morning, and hopefully get people.
So the other thing, we should make sure that people know that information is out and available.
Point of information, did we get a warrant mailed to us? Mailed with all the breakdowns of Article 4, etc. Do we have anything in writing, any print?
Yep, so two, if I could just speak to that, Mr. Chairman. So the warrant committee issued the detailed blue book for the articles that will be before this year's town meeting. I believe that has, it went to print. I see the warrant committee chairman is on this meeting. He can speak if it's been delivered. In addition to being delivered to all the households, we've also put a link to it up on the town's website under the town's town meeting page that you can find right on the town's homepage. So that has a link to the blue book, essentially what will be delivered to your house, so that you could go to the website right now and read through it if you'd like. And while I mentioned the website, I do want to share with everybody, in addition, all the detailed information about the budget, the operating budget, the capital budget, the presentations that the Board of Selectmen have done to the community, the moderators and the town clerk's summary of the requirements for this year's town meeting. All that information is under that town meeting page. And again, if folks go to doverma.org and scroll all the way down at the bottom of the page, you'll see a link that says town meeting information. Click on that and it'll have all the resources that you need right at your fingertips this evening.
Good, because what I heard was it's not just the regular operating budget, but there were special articles that were put in, and I'm very concerned that we not have any special articles. That's just one person's point of view, of course.
Right, which is why it's really important for people to come and attend these information sessions so that we understand, you know, all the articles are financial articles. They do relate to the operation of the town. But, you know, we want to get input from residents, and that's why it's important. And we're encouraging people to read what's in the blue book and to please attend these meetings so that we can address those concerns.
Right. Okay. Moving on to 1.5. Chris?
Yep. So in years past, the Board of Selectmen have reviewed the motions for all the town meeting articles that will be before the town at town meeting. So those motions are in your packet. These motions are essentially it's an extension of the warrant article description that gets mailed out publicly, but it's the official motion that's made at town meeting in terms of the authorization for each article and for each vote. And so the town, the Board of Selectmen typically has not voted on the motions, I should say, but they've typically reviewed all the motions and discussed them, if so desired, during a public meeting. So that's why this is on your agenda this evening. I will just add, related to this agenda item and to the informational sessions that we talked about, also in keeping with tradition, the town has typically held, the Board of Selectmen have typically held with the moderator's meeting before town meeting. And so, you know, we'll work out the schedule, but with a colonial water meeting, a moderator's meeting, 2 or 3 informational sessions, you know, we need to get the schedule set tomorrow so that we can meet the 48-hour deadline, because it's going to be 4 or 5 days. I just wanted to bring that point up as we discuss the motions, because typically during the moderator's meeting, we also went through the procedure and protocol of town meeting.
Thank you, Chris. Could I just ask Jim and Dave if you have a preference with regards to this, Jim?
A preference with respect to what, John? The having a moderators meeting, or
the moderators meeting, and how you would like us to proceed specifically? You know, as we've all discussed, the specificity of these articles and the discussion of them. It doesn't seem to me that there's going to be a lot of discussion at the board level, but we don't want to limit discussion that may be helpful to the constituents.
You know, people have expressed concerns to me about Article 14. And, I know that the motion doesn't have a reference to the 4th item that was in Article 14. So hopefully that will eliminate or allay the concerns that people have expressed. I think that probably, and I defer to you all, but I think that it might make sense to wait until next Thursday or Friday, and we can have a moderators meeting. Proceed pretty quickly since we have so few motions, discuss the motions, and then if you wanted to have a vote. I don't know, logistically, would that work, Chris? If would that timing be okay?
It would work, yes. The only thing is if the board plans on having informational sessions after that, and as a result of those informational sessions, any of the motions were to change, we would need to schedule essentially a Board of Selectmen meeting before, it could be right before town meeting on Monday morning.
And we've done that before. We've done that before, so we could do that, you know, if there were things to change, because it would be a quick thing.
Jim?
Yeah, I'm wondering, would it be possible, Chris, to schedule a quick moderators meeting Friday evening, next Friday evening?
Yeah, we can work with you and the board on their schedule, the clerk on the schedule. We can coordinate with everyone tomorrow. But we can look to Friday evening for that date.
So is it a meeting or happy hour?
She leaves the chairmanship for 5 minutes and it goes right down.
Well, yeah, no
Happy hour.
responsibilities. It's easy.
You know, I have a Zoom happy hour at 5 p.m. on Fridays, so.
Denise, David Haviland, both voted simultaneously for happy hour, so.
Okay.
I think happy hour is going to come at 12 o'clock after town meeting's completed.
I will partake in that happy hour, Dave.
So 1/6.
Sure.
Yep. So 1/6 is the 1/12 budget for July 2020. And now, as a reminder for the board and for folks, for communities who cannot have a town meeting and pass a budget as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, the state has allowed those communities to submit essentially a 1/12 budget every month so that they can continue their operations until they have a town meeting. Now, we do have a town meeting scheduled for June 29th, but you know, just to be safe, I wanted to have the finance team put together a 1/12 budget so that we could submit to the state. So in the unlikelihood, but potential opportunity that we do not have a town meeting, that our lights don't turn off on July 1 and we can continue operations at a bare minimum. So the budget's in front of you tonight. The finance team has done an excellent job in putting this together and working with departments. And I will actually turn it over to Kathy LaPlante, who is the town accountant and can share with the board just quickly what you're looking at and what it represents and what the next steps are.
Are we going to show it or should I pull it up?
I wasn't planning on presenting it, but if you'd like, Selectwoman.
Good for everyone to see.
Kate, do you want to allow Robin to share a screen?
Oh, you're going to make me do it?
Well,
I have to open it up now.
Kate, don't bail her out. She offered.
It's scintillating.
Well, I love accounting stuff.
Well, yeah.
Just can't find where I put it.
Yeah, we need help. We need a contingency, Chris.
Kathy or Kate, do either of you have the budget?
I have it here. I just have to, I have too many screens, so just bear with me a moment.
Jim, while we're waiting for the screen, oh, there we go. No? Jim, while we're waiting for the screen, one of the things that I'd like to discuss at our next meeting is time and effort and energy that you and Dave put in with Dr. Kevin Ban with regards to the protocol of our town meeting. we heard from Carl Warnick that this water situation is really going to be incumbent upon us to really stress a very heightened protocol in regards to distribution. I really want to use that model that Kevin, that you put so much time into for our town meeting, and relay that to the folks at Colonial Water with regards to people coming to a tank and receiving a water from something that's on our property. So.
Yeah, in that regard, John, let me just mention that we had a meeting yesterday at the high school with Dr. Ban and the police chief and Felicia and Dave Havlin and myself. And Felicia is fully up to speed on the recommendations that Dr. Ban has made to have safe check-in procedure and conducting people to their seats at town meetings. So I hate to put more work on Felicia because she's already doing so much and doing a great job at it. But she might be the person to talk to. She has the procedures and in fact used a lot of those at the recent town election.
Which was phenomenally well engineered. So we would be remiss, thank you, Jim, for mentioning that. Felicia, if certainly on behalf of the board, that we didn't say what a great job that was. Very well done.
Okay.
Thank you.
So is it Kathy?
Thanks, John.
Hi, yes, Kathy LaPlante, your town accountant. Basically, the form that you're looking at is required by the Department of Revenue in the event we don't have a town meeting. Again, like Chris said, it's, you know, just in case. It's always a good idea to have it in there. If we don't need it, we don't need it. Basically, what I did is it's based on your fiscal 20 budget. So I took...
Which is last year's for everyone, right?
Correct, the year we're currently in now. Right, the current year. And you take what was approved at town meeting and basically 1/12 of that. In certain circumstances, you have to add to it, because if you just take 1/12 and we're having to pay an annual maintenance contract for computer services or pay our Norfolk County retirement that we pay upfront in July, debt payments, those have to be added into the 1/12 because we're obligated to pay those. So that's why you'll see that column added to the 1/12. And I just basically, you know, put some numbers in there that we had to add to that budget. So you're not going to come up to an exact 1/12 if you just go through it, because there are changes that had to be made. The only thing I took out of there was the snow and ice. That one we couldn't put in there, of course. And after this review, the board would need to sign, need to vote and to submit the this budget plan. The town clerk would then go on our gateway. She would certify that this meeting was held, you took the vote, and the Department of Revenue would then, once I upload this form to them, they would review it and send back authorization that we could do this. The only, it's not an issue, but what the Department of Revenue is looking at is 1A on the recap sheet, which is the amount raise and appropriate. They're comparing what cities and towns are doing for this 1/12 budget to that. But what they're doing is they're taking that amount off our recap sheet and then minusing off articles and different things. So nobody's going to see a real 1/12 to 1/12 budget plan. But as long as we are, you know, within, a minimal amount of difference, it's going to be fine. And I've already reviewed it based on their criteria. And I think they're just going to go ahead and approve this once they get it.
Now, what's that little yellow box that says municipal expenses, school expenses? Is that just a summary of the categories?
It is, yes, because I have to, when I submit this budget plan, it has to be broken down by municipal and school.
Okay.
So that's why I just put that there so that, you know, when it's ready to go, I can just plop those numbers in and then I upload this form to go with it. And that's
So,
about it. Just wait.
so to make sure I understand this and that everybody else does, we're actually taking 1/12 of our prior year's budget. So there are no salary increases or anything like that reflected in this 1/12.
Well, we are taking the 1/12 of our current year, fiscal 20, which is July 1, 2019 through June 30th, 2020. That's fiscal 20. So we're taking this year's budget and we're taking 1/12. There are going to be some increases in salaries for those union contracts that have already been pre-approved at previous town meetings. We have to honor those.
Okay.
If we don't have a town meeting, there won't be any COLA increases. There'll be no, the personnel plan increase. None of that will happen. Just those that we are obligated to do that town meeting has voted on previously.
Now, what about the school contract that was just
Negotiated.
ratified or negotiated? Are those increases reflected in this or no?
No, they're not. Couple of reasons why. The teachers aren't going to start getting paid till September, and you really can't.
Okay.
They won't allow anything more than July. You can't do a quarter, 3 months at a time. You can only do 1 month at a time. So that, like I said, they're not going to be getting paid for a while anyway. So, and I did speak to Dawn over at the central office, and she's perfectly comfortable with the amount that's in there.
Okay, all right, thank you, Kathy. So how long does this take to prepare?
For the Department of Revenue to approve it, or?
Well, how long did it take you to prepare this, and then how long will it take them to approve it?
It really didn't take that long because we took the amounts that we've already had listed in other documents for all the departments and what was approved.
Okay.
It was really just kind of going through it to find what we can increase, what we can't, what we had to take off, what we had to put on. It was a tweaking, and then errors that I made. I should have plugged in 9,100 and I put 900 and different things like that. So it really wasn't that difficult. It really wasn't. It was a good team effort, and input from the departments, and it just if we don't have town meeting and this continues, it will get a little more difficult. But it wasn't bad.
All right. Well, thank you.
Right now, the Department of Revenue, basically, I'm going to quote what one of them said. They're up to their eyeballs in these 1/12 budget plans, and they're reviewing every one of them to approve them. So hopefully we'll just get an answer. I'm hoping at least within a week. That's my hope. They can't really drag it on too much longer than that because they have to act if something happens and we don't have our town meeting. I mean, isn't it like if more than so many people show up, we can't have the meeting, or
right.
So somebody said that well, hopefully there's no other pandemic disaster. I'm like, well, let's not say that. But I'm hoping no more than a week.
Okay. Well, I think it was great that you pulled it together, really forward thinking. So thank you.
Team effort. The finance team everyone was involved in this. So we thank you.
Yeah, thank you to the finance team.
It's
So I'll
nice to
stop
have the
sharing my
finance
screen now.
team.
Is everybody impressed that I was able to share my screen?
No.
This is not going to be easy.
Okay, so 1.7, appointments of John Sullivan and Tim Holliner to the Conservation Commission.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman. I know some folks may get through the meeting, but I need a vote on.
So there's a small little part of that, Mr. You actually have to vote.
This is the contingency. All right, so I move to approve the 1/12 budget as presented and authorize the town accounts to submit it to the Department of Revenue.
John Jeffries, second.
Robin Hunter, aye.
Bob Strait, aye.
John Jeffries, aye.
Good, 1.7.
If I could, before Mr. Chairman, apologize for the second interruption. Just as Kathy mentioned, timeliness is of the essence. So we'll get that over to you so you can sign that electronically so she can submit that to the state tomorrow.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Appointments 1.7, appointments of John Sullivan and Tim Holliner to the Conservation Commission. So the Conservation Commission is recommending that the board reappoint John Sullivan and Tim Holliner to the Conservation Commission. Comments?
Thank you very much to both.
Yes. Robin?
I concur. Thank
All
you
righty.
very much.
I move to reappoint John Sullivan and Tim Holliner to the Conservation Commission, each for a 3-year term effective July 1st, 2020 and ending on June 30th, 2023.
Robin, would you like to second?
I seconded.
John Jeffries in favor?
Robin Hunter in favor?
Bob Springett in favor. One dot 8, Town Administrator Annual Evaluation. So this is a new process that we've sort of concocted over the last 6 or 7 months. And so Robin, where are we on this one?
So I will take over since it was my responsibility as chair. So just for everybody, I just want to go over the process. So when we brought Chris on board last year, we worked with him on goals and objectives for the year. And the idea for doing that was that it would be a way for us to give Chris an evaluation, to evaluate the town administrator on the achievement of those goals and objectives. And we put together a form, an evaluation form, which mirrors the goals and objectives form. And Chris has presented those to the community a number of times. We went over the goals and objectives and the progress that was being made by Chris and his team. So that was the criteria by which we evaluated Chris. We did forget about the details in doing this. And so when it came the beginning of May and we said, wow, we have to give Chris an evaluation, how are we going to go about doing this? We decided that we would include the personnel board. So the way the process worked is each selectman, each of us, put together our evaluation of the year and of the town administrator. And we sent those to the personnel board, to the chair of the personnel board. And Mary worked with us on a process that wasn't completely vetted. She had to come back to us a number of times. And she did say, after pulling this all together for us, she does have some suggestions for improvement on the board's part. So we may want to have a meeting with Mary to get those suggestions for improvement. But in any event, Mary did a spectacular job of pulling together the evaluation. And so what I would like to do is just give a really high level overview, some of the highlights of the evaluation, and then I have a motion that I would like to make. So first of all, management, organization, and planning. This was something that was really important to us as a board. It was about goal setting, about making sure that departments ran efficiently. It was about continuous improvement. It wasn't about getting it right the first time or having a process that was just set. It was about constantly improving the process, right? And then also about resource allocation. And on a scale from 1 to 10, from 1 to 5, each of us gave Chris a 4. We felt that he did a tremendous job from a technology standpoint. We have a new website. We have a great communication policy. Chris worked with outside consultants. We had the DOR in here. We did an HR review. And most importantly, that did not go unnoticed, was that Chris created a team, not just the finance team, but a Dover team, Team Dover, and really pulled everybody together. And you could feel a new energy within the townhouse. And, Chris, I don't know how you can do better, but you have done, a tremendous job, not just you and your team, the way you've included the team members, their participation in our meetings. It's just been a breath of fresh air. And, it's a way for us, the Board of Selectmen, to appreciate the rest of your team, and for us to be able to communicate to them as well as you what a great job you have done. What was, as part of our interview process, I think we talked a lot about the lack of communication in the town of Dover and collaboration. And so that was another area that we evaluated Chris on. Again, Chris performed extremely well. Highlights the new website, responding to citizens' concerns and complaints, collaborating with the team, collaborating with the independent boards, just everywhere. I feel as though, communication has been important. Working with Colonial on this issue to ensure that communication went out timely and correctly. And again, continuous improvement is part of this, because we're continuing to fix that. The town has our own Facebook accounts, our own Twitter accounts, a new website. And again, Chris, you really hit all the points that we set up, and did a great job meeting those goals. As some of you may or may not recall, when Chris started, he had a very bare staff. I think Mona and the town clerk were carrying the Board of Selectmen's office. Can't thank the two of them for more. Kathy just came on board like right before Chris, right, Kathy? So there was a brand new town accountant, and we charged Chris with going out there and recruiting people. And again, Chris, the two recruits that you brought on board, the assistant town administrator and the municipal project manager, have been great additions to your team, complementary to your skill set and the skill set of all the other members. So again, we were really pleased, not only with the candidates that we've brought on board, but the whole process. Again, it was transparent. Again, it was collaborative. You got everybody involved, which you certainly heard us loud and clear during the selection process of how we really wanted this team environment. I know you also did a great job mentoring. We now have, I love that Kathy talked about the finance team. It just, and that you truly all worked as a team. I was part of some of those finance meetings, which goes into the next category. And I love that everybody under your team felt that they could express their real opinions and give suggestions. So again, Chris, great job. And, we expect this to continue. Financial management was an important thing for us as well. We wanted to make sure that there were metrics. We wanted to be more transparent with the annual budget preparation. COVID threw a little bit of a monkey wrench into all the really, really good work that we did. I was really happy to be the Board of Selectmen liaison as far as financial management went into place. We brought in a consultant who I'm not sure he enjoyed his first conversation with me, but I think at the end of the day, just all of us as a team, we have put together or put in place this tremendous foundation that we can work off of. I am truly disappointed that the work we did around reserves can't be presented at town meeting, but a lot of explanation, and I'm sure there's going to be debate. And so I respect our decision to table that to perhaps a town meeting in the fall or for next year. But I hope that the new chair will allow me to continue my work as a liaison to the finance team, because I really did enjoy that. And again, Chris, you performed really, really well and got really high marks for that. The last area was professional development and, municipal knowledge, state laws, state bylaws, procurement laws, management and technology. And again, you did a really good job in this area. You worked well with the tab. I think, one of the things all of us as a town would like to work towards is to continue to make improvements in this area, to continue to perhaps use technology to be more efficient. But again, we really felt that you addressed all these areas well, and you moved us in the right direction. The last area was not an area of rating, but really just our observations as 3 individuals, and the way that we could lay the foundation to think about next year and goals and objectives, and to provide mentoring and feedback to you. And, overall, all of us felt that you did an excellent job this year. You created a team, and not only that, you gained the respect of the rest of the staff. And that was really important to us. And, time and time again, we got feedback from your team, how much they enjoyed working with you and how much they enjoyed this collaborative environment. We've had some hiccups. I know we would have liked to make certain things happen during this year. We tried really hard, and I think you need to be really proud of the efforts that you put forth trying to create this DPW. But I don't think we were ready for it as a town. And I don't think that's a failure by any means. And I expect that we will continue to try and get those types of efficiencies, to continue to do that. We also, we talked about in this review, the old Dover Way and the new Dover Way, and we haven't really defined the new Dover Way yet completely. And I know there's some frustration with the old Dover Way. So I think overall, what we wanted the takeaway from you was be patient. We can't do everything at once. We're going to work on it together. And, we thank you for everything you've done this year. and for your efforts. And we want to continue to work with you on the modernization that is really important to us. So lastly, as part of Chris's contract, we put a bonus in there, and the bonus was based upon, Chris meeting the goals and objectives. And so based upon the summary of this evaluation, I would like to make a motion that in consideration of Chris's achievement of his 2019-2020 goals, I move that the board authorizes the payment of $10,000, which represents a performance bonus in accordance with paragraph 5 of the employment agreement between the town and Chris.
John, second.
I beat you to it.
Oh, John Jeffries is in favor.
Robin,
yes.
in favor.
Chris, was a hell of a year. Thank you very much.
Right, and we look forward to putting the goals and objectives together. And you say time and time again, you couldn't have done it without the team behind you. And so, big round of applause to the team behind you. We really thank all of you, because the goals and objectives were achieved because of the team. And just final part of the process, each of us will meet with you independently and go over our reviews in detail. But thank you very much. Great year, Chris.
Thank you. And if I just may for a quick moment, words won't do justice to how I feel right now, but I'm deeply moved and deeply appreciative of the feedback and the comments that you just conveyed to me. I set out every day, and from when I started during the selection process, with hoping that I'd make some small contribution to the community, and I think your comments this evening reflect that I have so far. So that means the world to me. And as you mentioned, and as we talk about the team approach, these jobs are, my success largely depends on the success of not only the staff, who I have to thank for everything that they've done this year, but also with you as the Board of Selectmen, and with all the volunteers and other boards and committees in town, and everyone who participates. And one of the things that's been helpful and has been really wonderful with Dover is that there is that team approach in Dover, and that everybody is part of the improvement process and wants to better the community. And I think largely, again, my success this year in accomplishing these goals is having that backing of everyone, and again, not just staff, in moving these things forward. So it's a wonderful, wonderful team environment. The community has been wonderful to me this year. It's been a privilege and an honor to work here in town. And I thank this board particularly for your leadership and your partnership and your guidance to me this year, which has proved invaluable as well. So I very much appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing what we accomplish next year.
Me too.
Well said, Chris.
And Mary will make sure we have ironed out some of the kinks in the process. So guys, we have to meet with her. She has some suggestions.
That wasn't bad for a first go.
No, and she, Mary, if you're listening, thank you so much. We appreciate you doing it. Your comments we will take them under consideration. And we are willing to listen to your suggestions. So let's set up a time to meet, because we would love to know, to hear some of your suggestions for improvement.
Agreed. And just quickly, if I may, Mr. Chairman, Kate, Mona, Kathy, Chris, you're all in the same block of windows that we're looking at right now. To say that this year has been unusual and challenging, an opportunity to learn and grow and to continue. I've said this a lot. I probably said it twice a week for the past 6 months. We're going to learn a lot, and to think how much the four of you have done this year, and add Amy to it, you know, and the new folks that we have brought in over these past 2 years with the amount of challenges that we've faced, it really is a credit to all of you. And I think we'd all be remiss if we didn't especially thank Mona for being that person who has just been absolutely invaluable, and Felicia and everybody in the townhouse who's really been an incredible part of this success these past couple of years during the whole transition process. So to all of you in the townhouse and to everybody on the staff, very well done.
Second. Here we go.
I'm turning it back over to you.
Thanks, man. Board of Selectmen updates, 1.9 upcoming agendas. It's going to change.
We have a lot of them.
Yeah, it's going to change. It's a whole separate calendar to handle next week.
We have a week of agendas.
Yeah, so we're going to just put this on pause and go on.
Okay.
Town administrator updates. You have Mr. Dwelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a few quick things for the board. From a technology standpoint, I think the main update that I'd like to highlight is that work continues aggressively in the townhouse and in the town buildings on our phase 2 and phase 4 technology and hardware infrastructure improvements that we've been talking about. So the main focus this past week has been improving our access points, which provide Wi-Fi and broadband availability, both to staff and to guests of the building, so that we will have reliable broadband throughout our town buildings. So if we're in a conference room upstairs or downstairs and a board and committee is having a meeting and members of the public are there, they actually have reliable, they can connect first to the network and have reliable wireless. So that's the big focus over the past 2 weeks. On the Carroll Community Center, our RFQ for designer services for the building is still out. We've received quite a response of interest from architects and design firms, which is really encouraging. And members of the building committee, led by the chair, Ford Spalding, met with a lot of the interested designers for a voluntary walk through the building. It's customary during these building projects for folks to come out and see the building before they put in their bid for the work. So that was this week, and there was great attendance to that. And that's about it for the recurring updates. And I do just, if I could take a moment just to echo the board's comments earlier. Alicia, the town clerk, did an absolutely outstanding job with the town election this week. The voter participation was almost 25%. And in the face of COVID and everything that was put in place in terms of procedures and protocol, just flawless. So kudos to her on that. I couldn't miss the opportunity to thank her and recognize that work. So that's all I have for the board this evening.
I'll echo that. I went to check out her foolproof system and I was impressed. Although I did get into trouble because I tried to go in the wrong door, but that was it was a test and they
No, that was a test. I'm sure that was a test. Like the whole evaluation process.
For the candidates who carried the day.
Right.
Yes. Well said, Bob. Congratulations to the candidates. Congratulations to everybody who participated. And it was just, I think it was very well done, given the circumstances, to have the number of contested seats, to the way the campaigns were conducted. It's just very well done. And a special shout out and a thank you to Peg Crowley and her efforts and the efforts of the people who staffed the election. It's, you know, they oftentimes get overlooked, and it was just really, as Chris said, and Robin and Bob have all said, it was just really well done. So thank you to everyone.
I will tell you, I love that people wore name tags, the workers, because it's really hard to recognize people with masks on.
It is.
You know, they could have been fooling, you know? All right. The consent agenda, C.1. So in summary, we're being asked to, we're going to vote to approve and execute Carroll Community Center license agreements for Erin School of Dance, the Center for the Development of Children, have both agreed to no changes in monthly rent in terms of their respective license agreements, approved town administrator contract, and approved the April 30th, 2020 open session meeting minutes. I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I will second that.
All in favor?
John Jeffries in favor?
Bob Springett, yes?
In favor?
Done. Is that it?
That's it. And I guess the next scheduled meetings, we're going to put out a list. It'll be on the website tomorrow.
Well, just leave August blank. July and June is going to be pretty busy.
Bob, you do realize my year as chair, I think we met a record number of times, and you're on pace right now.
We're gonna blow the doors off that record, man.
I hope not.
How about a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn, Mr. Chair.
Second. All in favor?
I, Robin Hunter.
Aye, John Jeffries.
Aye, Bob Springett. Thank you all for participating. Thank you for your work, and enjoy the weekend.
Yep, thank you.
Bye.